Okay, good evening. Hey, I want to really ask you something. Did you make a vow to yourself when you came here? I am not going to open my mouth. Hello? Hey, what's happening? Surprised. Good evening. I want to hear from this side. Good evening. പറയുന്നത് കൊണ്ട് കുഴപ്പമൊന്നുമില്ല കേട്ടോ. Right? Okay. Now, how many of you are here above the age of 15? Above the age of 15? Okay. So some of you are below 15? 13 to 15? 13 to 15? Okay. Right. Nice. See, I have two children. My daughter is still in 19, moving on to 20. Can you just reduce it? Yeah. And I have a son who is just entering into teenage. So, I can understand a bit of what you might be thinking, okay? And not just that. No, I'm 46 now, and almost say 26 years ago, I was also a teenager like you. It's not that, no, all of a sudden I came from where? Heaven to earth. Now, the topic that we will be discussing today is biblical perspective on sex, love, and marriage. As dear brother said, I don't know why that's exactly the topic the title I sent, but I found that the word sex was removed. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but we are going to deal with all these three topics. Now, the next slide, just have a look at this. I found this very, very interesting. Sex, love, marriage. Does the order really matter? This is the big question that is going on all around you. Okay, these three things are, no, in one way or the other, are to be spoken at the same level. They're all interrelated. Okay, does the order really matter? Now, I want to tell you, if you go around and ask your friends, many of them would say, the order really doesn't even matter. What do I mean by that? Okay, I can have sex before marriage or after marriage. How does it really matter to you? It's my personal preference. Okay, I'll just put you some statistics so that you understand what we are talking about today is reality. Okay, this is not a cooked up story here. Now, this is American morality. Now, look at how many people believe premarital sex is acceptable. Now, can you look at that column which talks about premarital sex? Only 30 say it is unacceptable, whereas 29, they say it's acceptable. For 36, it's not even a moral issue anymore. Okay? Now, a few years ago, I thought, no, this happens only in America. Or this happens only in the so-called Western countries. But that's not the reality. No? Even in India, considered to be one of the very conservative cultures in the world, even in India, no, the statistics is really damning. There was one interview, a survey done in one of the city colleges in Chennai. Chennai is one of the southern cities, metropolitan cities. You know what they found? 73% of students, before they completed their college studies, they had at least once sexual experience. That's a staggering number. Now, as I said, no, this is not just a problem with Western culture. Look at, here is the statistics that comes to us from 40 countries. An average of stats from 40 countries. Again, look at the issue of premarital sex. There are many other issues, of course, but look at premarital sex. More than half, I would say more than half, they believe that it's okay. Now, why make big issue out of all this? Okay? Now, even brother was mentioning about same-sex marriages. Who would have thought that even in places like India or Sri Lanka, today, this is a big theme, the big topic. Last October was considered, I think it was October or July, which was considered to be the Pride Month. Bangalore city had many events highlighting LGBTQ issues and how this needs to be part of the mainstream, very sadly. So, why do we address these issues today? It's because these are the things that are happening around us, and sadly, let me also say, these are things that are also happening amidst us. Okay, നിങ്ങളെ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നതുകൊണ്ടൊന്നും വിഷമിക്കൊന്നും ചെയ്യരുത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ രീതിയിൽ ചിന്തിക്കരുത്. I know many young people from Gulf countries, after 12th standard, they come to places like Bangalore or Kochi or other places. You know what? They are out of their parents' clutches. They are out of the known circles. And I know many of them have got into live-in relationships. You know what is a live-in relationship? You know about it, right? A girl and a boy, not married, living together in houses and apartments. So we are actually talking about things that really matter to you. Now, my task today is to actually help you get a balanced view of, a balanced biblical view of sex, love, and marriage. First, let's talk about sex. Now, as I said, I remember when I was in college, I went to a bookstore. Okay, while I was surfing the racks, I found a book titled Sex, Love, and Marriage. Okay, written by Zachariah Poonen, Zach Poonen. He was one of those people who wrote this book long ago, addressed this issue of sex, love, and marriage. You know what? I was finding it so difficult to pick that book. I wanted to take that book and read, and then I went there, stood there, flipped through it, and then in my mind, how do I take this and go to the counter and buy this? What would they think about me? That was like 25 years ago. Okay? Now, often we think it's like a dirty word. Now, when I was preparing this slide long ago, maybe a few years ago, I remember my daughter was about 15 years old then. Maybe 15, not even 15. And then I was preparing this slide. She came behind me and saw what I was doing. And then the first thing, Dada, you're going to talk about sex? And then she went around telling my wife, see, look what Dada is going to talk about. Okay, and then she had giggle and laughter and all that. Okay, many a time we think, it's a dirty word. It's a hush-hush topic. Meaning what? It's only, shared between ears. You don't have to talk about it in public. No, it's not something to be laughed at, not coarse-joked. Brothers and sisters, look here. I don't know what you watch, reality show, or I'm sure that many of you are watching some shows. Okay, some shows. Today you have a lot of international reality shows, things like that. But most of the things that are talked about, the language that they speak, okay, with lots of double meaning. And the word sex is so often used or coarse-joked. Okay? Now, what does the Bible say about sex? I want to just spend a few minutes talking about it. The first thing, let me talk the positive side first. Sex is actually God's idea. It is actually God's idea. God is the one who created two groups of people, if I can use that word. God is the one who created two sexes, male and female, two genders, male and female. And God is the one who designed our sex organs. Okay, in your biology, you would have studied. My 8th grade son is studying about this. One day he came home and said, now I know how I was born. Okay, he came and said, no, now I know how I was born. Actually, I was really pleased to know that they are talking about it. Yes, your biology books talk about it. But you know what the Bible says? Even the sex organs have been designed by God. Okay, Genesis chapter 2, 24, 25, it talks about how God creating male and female. And then the other thing you need to remember is, if sex wasn't God's idea, if sex wasn't not perceived as something good, I'm sure he wouldn't have made that as a very pleasurable experience. Now, moving on. So, you need to consider sex is a gift given by God to each one of you. Sex is a gift that God has given you. I want you to look at this as a positive thing. Now, God has given us many things. To enjoy this world, to experience meaning in this world, God has given us many things. Isn't it? God has given you body. God has given you eyes. God has given you ears. Why? God has a purpose for all that. He wants us to experience the world. He wants us to really know how good He is by experiencing the goodness of what God has done in the world. In that sense, you also have to look at sex now. Okay? Now, let me also take you to the next important thing. Because sex is a gift from God, God has also set the rules of the game. Okay? God has also set the rules of the game. Meaning, if this is something that God has given to us, God also knows how we should use this. Okay? Now, when you talk about it, now, the first thing I want to highlight to you, maybe we will just read one verse, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. If one of you could help me in reading these verses aloud, it will be good, because I don't have the logistics here to open the scripture and reading it. So, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Can you read it?
That marriage be held in honor among all. And let the marriage bed be undefiled.
Let the marriage bed be undefiled. What does it mean? Let sex be considered as what? Holy. Honorable. See, I tell you, I want you to have this it's a beautiful picture. If you have been thinking about sex as something, very, very dirty and things, that you shouldn't even talk about, or because of all the perversions that are happening in the world, this is something to be dumped. No. We need to rediscover the beauty of God-given sex. The world doesn't know about it. Okay? So, Bible sets the rules of the game. You can, you can't. This you can, this you can't. Now, let me make it very clear. Sex is clearly restricted to married couples. No matter what your friends say, no matter what the media says, no matter what celebrities say, the Bible very clearly says sex is what? Clearly restricted to married couples. And I want one of you to read 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3 and 4. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 3 and 4.
Let the husband render to his wife, and the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband.
Okay, is there anyone else who is using a different version? Version of the Bible? NIV, can you read it?
The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife,
Ah.
and likewise the wife to her husband.
Okay, can you read one verse before that, brother?
But since sexual immorality is occurring,
Ah.
each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband.
Each man with his own wife, each woman with her own husband. Do you get it? Do you get it? This is God's golden standard. Meaning, sex is God designed. Sex is no good when it is between a husband and wife. And I also want to say, you want God to bless your life. How many of you want God to bless your life? Pochida. Tamil angane parayunnathu. You don't want God to bless your life? Yes, you want, right? What all you want God to bless you? You want God to bless your studies at this point? Yes. You want God to bless your career? Yes. You want God to bless your marriage? Yes or no? I tell you, if you don't want God to bless your marriage, your life is going to be miserable, man. You ask the married people who are here. Okay? And the same way I want to say, you want God to bless your sex life, you follow the rules of the game. I tell you, brothers and sisters, some of you are too young, but I still believe, you know what? I have come across many, many young people married to beautiful spouses, but they cannot have good sex life. You know why? Because in the past, they messed up their sex life. In the past, and I will explain that to you, okay? In the past, when they were like you, at your age, they messed up their sex life. Finally, when they got married, when God gave them a life partner, they are not able to have a God-honoring, blessed sex life. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, God is the one who created this. God is the one who gave the rules of the game. And the Bible also says, when you break God's rules, you also have to what? Reap the consequences. Right? We know that, no, God is the one who created everything. Like the fall, sinfulness of man, Adam and Eve sinned. Therefore, sin entered into the world. That affected everything. Yes, that affected everything. It affected our health. It affected our longevity. Why are we all dying at one point of time? You know, it's all because sin entered into the world. Sin changed a lot of good equations. And one of that is, sin also affected sexuality. Sin also affected the goodness that God intended in what? Sex life. That's why you see all kinds of perversions today. All kinds of perversions. You know how the world looks at sex today? Something to be experimented. Now I have come across, people who say, as if, they speak very logically. No, you all have trial rooms. Meaning, when you go to what? What do you call? An apparel store, you have what? A trial room. You want to see whether your shirt what? Fits. Your chudidar fits. There was a guy who came and argued with me. I am entering into marriage. Now, how do I get married before giving it a try? It sounded logical. But that fellow doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? Now, because many people think it is something to be experimented. And no, there are people who say, no, it is like an appetite. Okay? You have different appetites, yes or no? Like, I read a very audacious statement some time ago. It said, if you are hungry, have a Snicker. If you are thirsty, have a Coca-Cola. If you are turned on, have sex. I thought, like, what is it? Now, here is something that God called it as what? Holy and honorable. Man has actually made it what? Something very human and instinctive. Appetite. Okay? Now, there are also people. Today, my dear young people, there are many, many in the world who think, no, whatever gives you pleasure, go for it. Don't think about no rules and restrictions. Whatever gives you pleasure. And I want to say this, with so much of pain, with so much of aversion, let me say this. Today, when you look at the sex life of majority in the world, they don't know what they are doing. Can you imagine this? How many times you read in newspapers? How many times you read in, or you come across this in television channels? A 40-year-old man, 50-year-old man raping a 3-year-old, 6-year-old child? What is happening? I have watched some documentaries on pedophiles, meaning men, grown-up people, who have a liking for small children, abusive. Where did this kind of a perversion come in? It's sinfulness. It's sinfulness. And I don't have time to talk about all the kinds of perversions today exist in the world. But all that I want to say, it is all because of man rejected God's idea of sex. In fact, the Bible very clearly says in Romans chapter 1, verse 21 onwards, you will all be receiving the notes of this session. So don't worry about it. You'll all be receiving notes. You know what? Bible very clearly says, because man didn't want to obey God in this matter, in this area of sex life, God gave them to all kinds of perversions. You know what? There are people who have sex with animals. Can you even think of that in your mind? How could man go to that extent of what? Perversion. The Bible makes it very clear. You break the rules of God's gift, you also reap its consequences in different ways. Moving on. Now, let's talk about how do we handle this? Maybe some of you are saying, Uncle, I know about all this. Uncle, I know what you have said thus far. Meaning, yes, we need to be obedient. We should restrict sex to married couples and all that. But you may be asking yourself, now I have sexual feelings. How do I handle it? I have lustful thoughts. How do I handle it? Now, because this is something very practical. We are not talking about something you don't experience. Something that you have experienced. Maybe something that you are experiencing these days as you grow up. So the question is, how do I handle it? Now, a few things I want to say. To have sexual feelings is normal. I want to say, my dear young children, young brothers and sisters, if you are having sexual feelings, meaning if you're having lustful thoughts, if you have no attraction towards another person of a opposite gender, I want to say there is nothing abnormal about you. It is what? Absolutely normal. That should be what? Delivering you from unnecessary guilt. This is absolutely normal. You want to talk to a boy, you want to have kind of a one-on-one conversation with a boy, or if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with a girl, I'm talking about your inward feeling. You have those sexual thoughts. I want to say this is absolutely normal. Meaning, this is how God is preparing you for a day when you will get married. And I want to explain this to you. You know what? Now, this is very true. Maybe a little bit of stereotype is involved in here, but then but more or less this is true. You know what? When you are small children, meaning when you are below the age of, say, 8 or 9, girls want to play with girls. Boys want to play with boys. And then, when you get into this teenage, something weird happens in your mind. Then now your focus is shifting on to what? The opposite gender. Boys, you're excited to look at girls and their beauty. Perhaps vice versa. You're also excited to look at boys and want to talk with them and all that, be with them and all that. Now I want to say this is because there are things that are happening in your body and mind. There are hormonal changes. These are things that God has designed in your body. There are hormonal changes that are happening. Your mind is being now changed. And all this is preparation for what, For a beautiful marriage one day. ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം പറയട്ടെ. You know how God works? Now imagine, if I ask Roy is sitting here. Roy, when did you get married, Roy? What age you got married? 23. Wow, I too got married when I was 23. Now, they used to call that as child marriage. Now, you know what? 23. Imagine if only after the marriage date was fixed, Roy is now beginning to get attracted to women. That means, before that, he was not what? Attracted at all to women. No, he didn't want to see women. He didn't want to speak to women. Only after the marriage day is fixed, what happens? No, he's getting suddenly attracted to women. That's not the way God works. I tell you, my dear child, my dear young man, I want to say this. God is actually preparing you, even at your teenage, right at this age, so that you would one day become a beautiful husband, an amazing man, and you will become an amazing girl, wife in marriage. Okay? This is the process. There's a process. ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം പറയട്ടെ. I don't know how many of you ever seen a mango tree. How many of you have eaten mangoes? Of course, a lot of you. Mango tree? Okay. Now, imagine, you tell me by looking at this, the mangoes that are over there. Now, which are the ripe ones? Which are the ripe ones? Isn't it rocket science or no? Which are the ripe ones? Which is ready to be eaten? The yellow ones, or even the reddish ones, reddish yellow. Yes? Okay. Does it happen over one day? The previous day it was what? Raw. And the very next day what? It becomes what? Ripe. No, that happens where? Today in the chemical process, no, that's what they do. They bring all the raw mangoes and ripen it over one day and then sell it off for the sake of money. But that is not the natural process. Yes or no? Agreed? Agreed. Okay, I want to say this is what is happening in you. This is what is happening in you. The ripening process has begun now. Meaning, God is actually doing something in your life. Something exciting in your life. Something exciting in your life. So that tomorrow when you get married, you will experience that fulfilling aspect of sex. ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ ചോദിച്ചോട്ടെ. What if you pluck this fruit before it is ripe? What if you want to have this fruit before it is ripe? പുളിച്ച മാങ്ങ തിന്നവരുണ്ടോ? Hello? You know what is it? Huh? You know what? If you want to see, there are people who want to eat raw mango. That's a different story. You want to eat what? A fruit mango, but then you didn't wait for it. You didn't wait for the time. You picked up even before that and you wanted to have it. It's not going to be a good experience. It is not going to be a good experience. It can become, one of the worst experiences in life, so that you don't want even to eat mangoes later. This is what is happening to the world. My dear child, I'm talking to as if you are my daughters, because you are all of my daughter's age, many of you. I'm talking to you as I'm talking to my son. You know what I want to say? The devil doesn't want you to wait. The devil doesn't want you to become mature. The world around you says no, you have lustful feelings now, you have sexual feelings now, go and experience that. Go and have it. How does it happen? Look at this. Due to external influences. What do I mean by that? Many have become sexually active well before time. Now I was asking Brother Roy, because I didn't know about your context. I was asking Roy whether in UAE you have the whole issue of pornography. Because no, I come from India where no pornography has become what? So common. Access to pornography has become what? Very, very common. I remember when I was growing up, in my college days, we didn't have any internet connection. Those days, no, we only had no porn pictures sold as books. Okay? It was also difficult to get them. Yet, I remember days, no, when we went and bought, and as friends, no, we used to read those magazines. We used to look at those pictures. I remember that. But today, easy access to pornography is destroying the lives of many, many young people. If you doubt me, you can go and Google and find out. You can look at some of the YouTube videos, how pornography is destroying lives and careers and marriages. And I want to ask you, my dear young brother, my dear young sister, what is that you watch when nobody else is watching you? Okay, today most of you have what? Access. Okay, you have mobile phones. You have no internet access. Okay, you may not be watching hardcore pornography. But no, there are many, many things even on YouTube. There are many, many shows on YouTube which actually are, I would say, almost explicitly what? Carrying such content. Yes or no? Hello? Am I talking Greek and Hebrew here? No? You know what I'm talking about, right? Even if you look at some of the advertisements, right? If you look at some of those reality shows, what is happening? They are bombarding you with what? Trigger points. So that you are already having sexual feelings. You're already having thoughts about opposite gender, a nice kind of an emotion. And the devil wants to use your vulnerability to trick you so that you become addicted. I don't have time to talk about the other things related to it. But I do want to just mention, pornography and masturbation are so linked. Okay? Self-pleasure, you call it by whatever name. They are so linked. And if you are entering into this kind of a habit at this age, and I want to tell you, there may be many habits in your life you can easily kick off. But this is going to be one habit, if you don't actually take efforts to settle those things, it may stay with you for years together and destroy your spirituality slowly, and steadily. Don't take it lightly. No, you know why I'm talking about this with so much of conviction? You know what? Today, even the doctors in the world, doctors and others, they come and tell us, this is normal. Growing up with masturbation is normal. Growing with self-pleasure is normal. Okay, it's not a normal way of growing up. But I want to say it's always connected to pornography. Now what happens here? What happens here? Our senses become hyperactive. It wants more and more. Okay? It wants more and more. I tell you, it's not going to stop. You begin to watch something, if I can use the word, either soft porn or sleazy things, or even in the form of stories, you start doing it, it is not going to stop. Because, you will need more. It is like, your dopamine thing. It's like drug addiction. Okay, they all start with a lower dose. They all start with a dose that they think they'll be able to control. But sooner or later, they realize they've lost what? Control. Now, very quickly, there are at least 5 stages of sexual addiction. Okay? Now, I want to talk this very plainly because, you know what the statistics show? Girls are also as addicted like boys to all kinds of these perversions. I'm not saying that any of you who are here are into it. That's not my suggestion. That's not my hint. But this is what I see. Okay? We had a meeting in Chennai. Okay? We had a meeting in Chennai. A 12th standard student, right after the meeting, he said, "Uncle, I want to talk to you personally." And I said, "Okay, let's do this." So over the lunch, he and myself, we spoke. And you know what he's revealed to me? He said, no, I am having a sexual relationship with my teacher. It just blew me off. Here is a 12th standard student, and I'm thinking about two people here. The morality of two people here. The teacher who is a married person, and here is a boy who is in 12th standard. And I'm thinking about the kind of damage that is happening to this young boy. Five stages. Early exposure, meaning when you are in teenage. Now, let me also openly talk about it. I was an addict. I got into this when I was in 8th standard. As I said, no, those days we didn't have what? Internet. Somebody in my classroom, a friend of mine brought a book, a story book, which had some of these pictures. And then I didn't realize, over a period of time, I was actually slowly, gradually, but steadily was getting addicted. It's not long, it started with pictures, it started with, reading some of the stories, and eventually I remember when the internet came into life, it literally exploded. Now you know how this happens? Early exposure. They see the stuff when they are very young and it gets its foot in their door. Next step is what we call as addiction. Later comes addiction. You keep coming back to porn. It becomes a regular part of your life. You're hooked. You can't quit. Then escalation. After a while, escalation begins. You start to look for more and more graphic porn. You start using porn that would have disgusted you when you started. Now it excites you. And then you know what? The worst thing happens. Desensitization. Meaning, I know you're all Christians. I believe that all of you, at least, you have this born again experience. But I want to say, even though you're born again, even though you're a believer, this desensitization can happen. You know how it happens? You watch over a period of time, and then you don't have any guilt. You don't have any guilt. You don't have any more pricking in your hearts. Because what you watch has become what? Your whole thing has desensitized. You don't have any shame in watching that. And in some cases, I don't say this is an extreme case. In some cases, it also leads to physical relationships. മക്കളെ ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം പറയട്ടെ, ദുഃഖത്തോടെ പറയുവാട്ടോ. And some of the things I don't want to even speak out. But no, let me say, this is happening even in our own churches. വെളിയിലൊന്നും മിക്കവാറും പുറത്തറിയില്ല. I know cases where children were born out of such extramarital or premarital sexual activities. Don't take it lightly. Please don't take it lightly. Do any of you recognize this guy? Any of you here recognize this guy? I don't think so. And I will not blame you for not finding out who is. Somebody said here. Ted Bundy. Who said that? Kevin? Yeah. Ted Bundy. If you would just listen to his story. Now, there's a doctor in US called Dr. James Dobson. So he interviews him just before he was lethally killed by the US government. You know why? These are all his victims. He was a serial killer. These are all his victims. He used to literally pick up girls and then vandalize them, if I can use the word. And towards the end of his life, you know what he said to Dr. James Dobson? That's what I wanted to bring it before you. His statement, I have lived in prison for a long time and have met some men who are motivated to commit violence just like me, and without exception, every one of them was involved in pornography. You understand what he's saying? He is actually going back and trying to trace his history. He's saying, that many of them, like him, it all started with what? What happened during their teenage time. I want to encourage you. Okay, if there is anyone here who's already struggling, okay, with any of these things, okay, even if you have any confusion about this, now I am willing to talk to you. I can give you my email. You can correspond with me, and I want to really help you out. There are many avenues where good resources are available, okay, where step by step you can learn to come out of these addictions. An addiction is an addiction. No, just by prayer, പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചും കൊണ്ടൊന്നും ഒറ്റ ദിവസം കൊണ്ടൊന്നും മാറുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമൊന്നുമില്ല. There are things that you need to do. You know what the Bible says? If your eye causes you to sin, what does it say? Pluck it out. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. That is the kind of importance that Jesus gave to what? Some of the steps, drastic steps that we need to take while dealing with what? Some of these addictions. Now moving on. Now how do you stay pure? That's my topic. And I just hope and believe and pray that none of you are already into any of these things. I just pray that I just believe that God has spared you from any of these things. Okay? Now my question is, how do you stay pure now? Okay? Until marriage, how do you stay pure? To all the girls here, I want to suggest, maybe the boys also should watch this. There is a movie called Pamila's Prayer. Hello? There's a beautiful movie called Pamila's Prayer. You should watch. Would you do that? Huh? I and my daughter, we both sat together and watched this movie. And I believe she was hardly, 10 years old. By the end of the movie, she was crying. I was crying. We hugged each other and we prayed for each other, saying, as a father, it was such a moving experience. It's about a girl who is tempted by all sides. All her friends are involved in dating, going around, kissing and everything. For this child, she lost her mother, brought up by her father. And father wants to protect her somehow. Father is telling, you keep your first kiss for your husband. You keep your first kiss for what? Your husband. And I want to say that to all the young men. You keep that purity, your first kiss, for your future wife. A passion for purity. Okay? Now, how do you keep yourself? Okay, the Bible says, yes, we need to exercise control, self-control. Okay, the Bible talks about it. And then, the other thing I want to say, beware of what you feed through your eyes and ears. Beware of what you watch. Don't take it lightly. Please, my dear children, don't take it lightly. I want you to analyze some of the things that you watch regularly. Using your mobile phones, some of the things that you watch regularly. How does it affect you? Does it actually trigger some of your sexual feelings? Okay, is it actually causing you to become more worldly in your approach to sex? Okay, I remember telling my son one day, because he was watching something. But the sad thing, even something that seems to be what? Not so explicit and all. These days, the language is terrible. Right? The 4-letter word, the way it's used. Sometimes, it's terrible. And do you know that? If you are watching those things, if you are actually, keep on listening to those things, whether you like it or not, over a period of time, that becomes part of your ideology. How many of you like listening to secular music, albums? നിങ്ങൾ ആരും കൈ പൊക്കില്ല, എല്ലാം വില്ലമരാന്ന് എനിക്കറിയാം. You all like it, right? Okay. I have no issues. I'm not saying no, you should only listen to what? MEC songs or KV Simon songs. I'm not saying that. But I want you to scrutinize. I want you to scrutinize. Just because of the beat and the nice melodious or pop or rock or whatever you call it, I want you to just, you like some song, you pick up that song, go to the lyrics, you download the lyrics and keep it before you. Read through the lyrics and then ask yourself, do you agree with that? If you don't agree with that, stop listening. ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് മനസ്സിലാകുന്നുണ്ടോ? Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? Because children, you never know how this impacts you. Everything that goes in has an impact. And the other thing I would say, no, avoid as much as possible, and reasonable the sights and situations that arouse unfitting desire. Now I want to talk about even, you know what, your company, your friends. Who are your friends? What do they talk about? In WhatsApp, what do they share? Those are important things. Hello? Those are important things. If you're part of a gang which has got very loose values, loose morals, I tell you, they will be exchanging perhaps pictures, they will be exchanging what? Stories, they'll be exchanging double meaning jokes. Think about it. Who are your friends? Who are your friends? To boys, I want to ask you, when you are with your friends, what do they do? What do they do? And do you agree with all that they do? I'm not saying you should keep yourself isolated. Yes, we should have all kinds of friends. But you should also know where to draw the line. If you don't know where to draw the line, sooner or later, I tell you, it will be difficult for you to pull out of that gang. Now I'm asking you, are you aware of the sights and situations that arouse unfitting desire? The Bible very clearly says, flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness. I'll tell you my own story here. When I was in college, okay, secular college, as I said, no, there was this time when the CDs, you know the CDs? Hello? You have all seen that? CDs? I mean, even that is vanishing now. Okay? CDs. So most of such stuff was actually available on CDs. You know, when you live in hostel, I was 100 kilometers away from my home. I was in a hostel. Okay? You know what? There were certain rooms where these CDs were freely available. Meaning, those guys, no, if you go to their rooms, you'll find such books, you'll find such CDs. Now I tell you, as a believer who wants to keep myself pure, I have only one choice. I should consider that room as a danger zone. Arke. Friends are not dangerous, but what they possess is what? Dangerous. I'll tell you, many a time, after entering that room, Lord, please deliver me, Lord. Lord, I don't want to fall, Lord. It doesn't happen. No, somebody is watching that. Somebody is talking about it. And soon, you realize, without any inhibition, you are also easily drawn into it. Are you following what I'm trying to say? As much as possible, you understand yourself. What are your triggering sides? Say no to every lustful thought within 5 seconds. Say no to every lustful thought, because the devil is so active. But still the control is in your hands. Okay? Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Okay? The devil can put a lot of thoughts into your mind. Lot of unnecessary, lustful, unscriptural thoughts into your mind. But I want to say, you can resist it so that the devil will run. Okay? And the other thing that I want to say is, understand your weak spots. Get away from places, situations, romantic places, lonely places, even your home with your friend. And I want to say, my dear brothers and sisters, please, I don't know about your situation here. See, try as much as possible not to be alone with another man, another woman. Meaning, of your own age or your friends. You have to decide, because you know what? You never know what is going to happen. And I especially want to talk to you girls. I have come across many, many young girls who have actually had painful consequences because they didn't know how to say no. You know what is that? You should have the power to say no. When somebody advances, when somebody approaches for something that you don't agree, which is against God's word, have the firmness to say no. Don't actually feel bad. Don't regret after something happens. Let me quickly go on. I know we don't have much time, but let me quickly go on to a few more things, and then now even let's talk about love affair. What we call as love affair or relationship and all that. Okay? Now it's actually a very complicated word. Love is a complicated word. Look at this, the ways in which word love is used. Okay? I love coffee. What do you really mean? You love coffee? What do you really mean? What you really mean is what? I like coffee. But the word you use is what? I love coffee. And then I love my Jimmy. How many of you have pets here? You're not allowed to keep pets here? Some of you? Okay. Now, okay, you may say, no, I love my pet dog. I love my pet cat or whatever. Okay, you're actually talking about a feeling. I love my wife. You may be talking about romance. I made love to her. That word actually talks about sex. It's a very, very complex word. The word love. Now when it comes to love between a man and woman, boy and girl, yet again, there is plenty of confusion. Hey, I want to ask you, will any of you be honest? You had crush with somebody? Yes, good man. In 5th standard, I had my first crush. No, we were in a co-ed school. You call that what? Where you have both boys and girls. We had a very crazy teacher. No, we used to sit like you only. Okay, guys, girls on one side, boys on one side. We had a crazy teacher who said, no, let's do a thing differently. So 2 boys and 2 girls in the same bench. I remember there was a girl who was beside me. Her name was Julie. And then, I used to tell my friends, don't touch Julie. She belongs to me. Which standard? Hello? 5th standard. Next, when we moved to 6th, Julie is transferred to another section. Okay? Then you know what? Then somebody comes in your life. You feel attracted to that person. And then you begin to think, oh, could this person be my life partner? Eppa? 5th class-lum, 6th class-lum, 7th class-lum, okay. Okay, how many of them are you going to marry now? Because you like a lot of people. You have crush on what? A lot of people. So my dear young children, I want you to realize, see, in life, you may get attracted to somebody. That's natural. You may like something about somebody, and then you like. But don't think that is falling in love. You know what? There was a guy with whom I was counseling. And this fellow came to me. His parents sent to me. And then, I was counseling him. And this fellow is just in college. And then his parents found out that he had a relationship. And then while I was counseling, I was trying to tell him, see, you don't bother about this now, man. You can think about it later. Now your role is to study, do well in your studies, and all that. You know what he said? I cannot leave this person now. I made a commitment to her in 9th standard. Endona? Commitment. See, I tell you, please, you're all growing up. Okay, let's come out of this playful stuff. Okay, let's say you like somebody, it means you like somebody. Okay? It means no, okay, you have a nice feeling for somebody. Let's keep it there. Don't call it as what? Huh? Commitment, or don't call it as what? My life partner. And I want to say, never ever, no, consider your nice feeling for another person in opposite gender to be what? No, discovering the love of your life. Don't be fooled. Now, this is one principle I want to give you. Any love affair or relationship between a man and woman that does not have marriage as its final goal is not love at all. You know what? Today we have people, no, time pass love. Everybody has a girlfriend, so let me also have a girlfriend. Everyone has a boyfriend, let me also have a boyfriend. Okay? That's the world in which we live. But for a child of God, no, anything that you think about, relate with the word love for marriage. If marriage is not your end goal, I tell you, it's always problematic. Now, if I ask you, when are you going to get married? Tell me. Can I ask, what's your age, man? 17. So when are you going to get married? 25? Yes. That means how many years you have? 7 more years? Yes. You got it? You got it? Are you getting it? Are you getting it? That means he is not, right now he is not thinking about what? Thinking about what? Marriage. Right now marriage is not his priority. Now, remember, so if he comes and tells me, I am in love with what? This person. I would say you have a nice feeling to that person. You like that person. But don't consider that as what? Marriage. Don't just go and propose to that person. Don't just go and you go and talk to each other and say, no, anyway, I'll be faithful to you till the end of. Hey, you don't know what is your life going to be. The next year, you don't know what your life is going to be. Now, what commitment can you make? So, I want to say, put it like this. That means any talk about love between two people before the marriageable age is always problematic. You know what I mean by marriageable age? Say, you have reached a particular age, meaning say 22 or 23 or 24. Okay, you have reached and you're seriously considering marriage. And I want to say this. And you're seriously considering marriage. And during that time, you come across somebody. You are coming across somebody. Okay, in whom you are interested. And then you are considering that person to be a life partner. And I want to say, you can consider, but there is still a modality to be followed. You know what? I always tell my young people, okay, marriage, yes, it's a private affair. It is a personal affair. It is between two people, agreed. But I want to say, you are not going to just live as two people. You're part of two families. You're part of some godly Christian communities. Okay? If you come across somebody in the marriageable age, let me say that, in the marriageable age, if you come across somebody whom you think as somebody who would be your life partner, I would say, even without you speaking a word to that person or even you can be friends, you could be friends and all that. Even before you make a commitment or saying to each other, okay, let's marry, please talk to your parents. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If you don't have anything to hide, if you don't have anything to really feel bad about that, I don't think you will have any problem in sharing that with your parents. Okay, you share with your parents. You talk to somebody, some spiritually mature person. You talk to them. You can tell them, yes, I'm interested in this person. What do you think about it? And then then process it over. I'm not here to talk about whether love marriage is good or arranged marriage is good. Okay, culture is different. There are different cultures. There are different ways people make choices. Okay, but all that I'm trying to tell you is this important thing. Before marriageable age, if you have some liking to somebody, I tell you, you need to find out ways of handling that. Meaning, please don't get intimate. Okay? You could be friends, but even that friendship is actually becoming a kind of an attraction that may lead you to what? Things that are not scriptural, not good for believers. Keep away. Keep away. Okay? I don't want to talk about other things, but let me just talk about waiting for the right person. Stop getting influenced through movies and novels. Get real. Get real. Okay, get real. Maintain healthy relationship with the opposite gender. Have good friends. There's nothing wrong in having what? Good friends from either side. Okay, boys having some friends from the girl side, it's fine. Have healthy relationship. Okay, have healthy relationship. And then whatever feelings you have, open up and share with your spiritual. You have spiritual friends. Yes? Do you have spiritual friends? Right? How many of you consider your parents as friends? Prashna hai. How many of you consider? No, I tell you, yeah. No, you should be able to share with your parents. Okay? You should be able to, of course, they may not agree with everything, but still you should have the courage and that freedom to talk to them about it. Or somebody in your life, a spiritual mentor. You can do that. You know what? Don't spill your love on the wayside as you journey. Preserve it for that one person. See, I tell you, this love that God has given you. Yesterday I was talking to the couples 2 days ago. No, God has given you a reserve of love. And this love is for the person whom the Lord brings into your life. That person also has a reserve of love. And that person will give you the love that you need. Okay? When it comes to marriage, tomorrow morning I'm having a session for those who are planning to get married, 20 and above. Okay? If any of you are still interested, you can come and join. Okay? So I'll just want to highlight a few things. Marriage is God instituted. The Bible is very clear about it. Meaning, marriage relationship is something God brought into the world. So I don't want to talk about all this. You will still have time later. But let me talk about this one thing. Marriage as God instituted is between a man and a woman. Marriage God's way is between a man and woman. It's not between a man and man. It's not between a man and woman. Today the world is trying to redefine marriage. Okay, can you imagine? I tell you, okay, a man and man getting married, a woman and woman getting married, and then children not experiencing a father's love, children not experiencing a mother's love. Where are the children going to come from? No, you are actually getting into a kind of a society where all that things that were meaningful today to us, what has happened to US can happen anywhere. The devil destroyed the marriage relationship in the US. You go to US, I tell you, hardly you will find children living with their parents. You talk to some of those boys and girls, they would say, no, this is my mom's third husband. Can you imagine that? Okay, it has destroyed everything. Now the devil is now destroying even the whole identity called gender. We don't have much time, but keep in your mind, marriage God's way is actually between a man and woman. And the Bible also very clearly talks about it. This is a believer, a child of God, when it comes to marriage, should marry a child of God. See, I tell you, there are a lot of young people who come and talk to me and saying, Uncle, so I'm already fallen in with this particular girl who is not a believer, I know, but can I go ahead and marry and believe that God would change her? Okay? What is the guarantee that she would not change you? What is the guarantee that he would not change you? I tell you, if you yourself, you are a believer, you wouldn't do that. The reason why you have taken such a decision is because you yourself is not a believer. If you yourself, you are a child of God, your mind is not thinking what way? The world's way. Your mind is thinking what? The God's way. Brother, I'll be closing it a couple of minutes. Yeah. So, now, finding God's will and choosing life partner and all that, these are things that we can talk about, and I would encourage you. And God willing, brother, I have written a book on this, and I actually posted it, but it's still not reached UAE. Once it reaches, I'll be passing on some copies to you. It's called as Marriage Matters. So it talks about many of the things that I have spoken in detail, and I want to really encourage you to start reading about it. Because, these are young days. You start reading about that, you will understand. Now, final word. This is a verse from Proverbs chapter 3. What do we read there? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him in all your ways. He will make your paths straight. The choice is yours. When it comes to sex, when it comes to love, when it comes to the issue of marriage, the choice is yours. Do you want to follow God's way or world's way? God already has set a beautiful pattern for sex life, for marriage, and love in marriage. God has set a beautiful pathway before us. And God says, if you want to follow me, you will reap the blessings. And if you don't want to follow my way, you want to follow the way of the world, then you reap the consequences. Any questions you may have, I want to give you a couple of minutes. Any questions? I know the time was like this sort of monologue, but you are in opening up. Yes, you will receive the notes of this session in detail, and I want you to go home, and when you get some time, read through the Bible passages, and it's going to help you out. Any questions? Any question? Yes, brother. Yes.
You talked about, trigger points. Trigger, like when we watch something, there are these trigger things that will trigger us to our lustful thoughts.
Right.
I'm 100% sure, including me.
Yeah.
When we sit something at home, we see something and suddenly there are these trigger points. So what do we do?
Yeah.
Do we at that point get out?
Yes. Yes.
Watching,
Yeah. Now.
get out from there, or
Yes. Now I tell you, see, the Bible talks about having an aversion towards sin. Having an aversion. You know what? It says in Hebrews chapter 12, hate sin willfully. Hate sin what? Willfully. I'll give you a small illustration, very crude illustration. How many of you know cow dung? Cow dung? Hello? Okay. In India, you call this cake. Cow dung. Now, you're walking. Okay, you're walking on the road. And all of a sudden, you find what? Cow dung. Right? Cow dung. Now, what will you do? Would you sit there? Oh, let me just have a close look, and let me see the shape of it. Let me just let me just touch and see the texture. Hello? Let me also see the fragrance that comes out of it. Would you do that?
avoid it.
Huh?
Avoid.
You try to what? You just move away. Yes? And then you know what? That's like, see, when you see cow dung, what comes to your mind is aversion. Right? What comes to mind? Aversion. There are times, brother, when we will have to be drastic. Drastically, because you know what is your weakness. We all know what is our trigger. Right? My trigger may not be your trigger, your trigger may not be my trigger. So we have to decide. Sometimes our friends may feel what? Upset about us. They are holier than thou attitude. They will say this and that. But whose problem is that? It's their problem. I am trying to save myself. So I believe, brother, there are times now that few seconds, that the first few seconds are so important. So important. If you stay there, then it's like a slide. Because our sinful nature is what? Very powerful. Very strong. Right? So, yeah. Simple answer is run away. Yeah.
You guys, anybody can ask the question? I know there are many questions, but you guys are sitting silent.
You want to write down my email, you can do that. MEET. 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 It's not MEAT, okay? MEET. SKJ. S stands for Sam, K stands for the middle word, and then J for John. Meet SKJ, that's one single thing. Meet SKJ at gmail.com. If any of you are willing to address any of these issues and ask me for some guidance, I can send you very good resources that can help you. I am not saying I have solutions for all your problems, okay, but I can guide you. Okay, that will be helpful. So, I hope what you heard today was meaningful. How many of you think it was meaningful? Was it helpful? Yes? Okay, what should be your passion when you move out? What should be your passion when you move out? Pure. Stay pure. What is it? Stay pure. I will stay pure. I will keep my first kiss for what? My spouse. Pamila's prayer, don't forget. You'll love it. You watch that, you'll love it. It's a very old movie, but you'll love it. Thank you, brother.